It felt like 19. Once we get to about 20 or 25 degrees, then the people start to fall like, whoa, they start falling off and doing all sorts of crazy movements. Yeah, 19 degrees sounds pretty good. Now, is this math you can do in another setting? Do you understand how this works?
Absolutely, yes.
All right, cool. So that's it. That's it. So the force normal, which is the force perpendicular to the plane, is Fg cosine theta. Now the force parallel, which is a little more complicated to calculate, or a little more complicated to demonstrate, because you have to have a bigger board, you have to have somebody hanging off the board, is Fg sine theta. Now how is this important for the back of the lab? You found that when you moved the track at an angle, what happened to the force pulling up the plane? It increased. And when you moved a larger angle, what happened to the force pulling down the plane? It decreased. So then we can do a little math and we can say, all right, if I'm pulling down the plane, what I'm pulling is, I'm going to use blue again. What I'm pulling is force applied.
Force parallel.
Yep. We're going to do force applied up and force applied down. If I'm pulling down the plane, what force am I pulling against?
You said up the plane, down the plane.
Sorry, okay, up the plane. Let's go up the plane. Just keep it in order.
pulling
If I'm pulling up the plane, what force am I pulling against?
Parallel.
I'm pulling against
Gravity.
force parallel. And
Force friction.
force friction. Force friction never works with me. So if I'm pulling up the plane, the force parallel is pulling back, and the force of friction is pulling back, and my force applied has to be the sum of those two. So if I'm pulling up the plane, I'm pulling against the force parallel and against friction. Does that idea make sense? You kind of see it in your mind's eye, if that doesn't work, the diagram maybe?
So is up the plane, like the big one diagram
Yes.
you drew there, is that when it's not moving? It's not moving.
If it's moving with a constant velocity. Okay. We're still talking about, good question. We're still talking about moving with a constant velocity.
This is for acceleration, right? If you're accelerating up the plane.
No, F applied.
Okay.
So not F acceleration, F applied.
Okay.
So force applied up the plane. So if I'm pulling the block up the plane, you set the textbooks on it, put the track on there. If you're pulling up the plane, you are pulling against force of parallel, which is pushing down, and you're pulling against force of friction, which is pulling down. On the other hand, if you go down the plane, if you go down the plane, what are you pulling against?
Force of friction.
You're pulling against the force of friction, but what's helping you?
Force
F parallel.
Force parallel. So what math symbol should go right here?
minus.
Minus. So if you're going down the plane, your force parallel is working for you, so it's going to be the force of friction minus the force parallel. That's going to be really important in tomorrow's lab.
FLF.
So if you haven't written this down yet, write it down, because you're going to use it in tomorrow's simulation. Okay. Questions? Feeling comfortable with this? Give me a thumbs up if you're feeling kind of comfortable. Like, I feel like I've learned something today. I feel like I got my taxpayers' money's worth.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Okay. So the piece de resistance. If you had a coin, the coin represented by here, because it's big, the camera can see it. If you had a coin sitting on a textbook like so, there is a way to determine the friction coefficient between the coin and the textbook using only a ruler. No spring scales, no balances, no protractors, using only a ruler. You can determine what the friction coefficient is between the coin and the textbook cover. That is your goal. That is your task for the rest of the class period today.
Gosh, my head's gonna hurt.
What size coin are we using?
You can use any coin you want. If you need to be provided with a coin, I may provide you with a quarter.
Will you provide me with a quarter?